PSVR 2, our honest review. Sony's PlayStation VR 2 may not be available until next year, but after months of leaking information, the company has finally allowed the press to get their hands on the VR headset. Even after only a short time with the device, the new headset will significantly upgrade the original PSVR in nearly every way. So let's find out more about it. Here we begin. The headset. The PSVR 2 is not a self-contained unit like the Quest 2, and instead connects to the PlayStation 5 via USB-C cable. This may turn off some people, but it's standard fare for PC VR gaming. The PSVR 2's one-cable setup is far easier than the original PSVR's bulkier breakout box. Moreover, it doesn't require additional tracking cameras. It's just 4 in-headset cameras that enable full-room walkarounds as long as the cable is long enough. There's also a black and white pass-through of video of the room around me, just like in the Oculus. The visor-like headset attaches similarly to the original PSVR, with the back pulling out when you press a button and tightening with a small knob on the back. A rubbery shield that blocks light surrounds the display. Wine glasses, which do not easily fit in a Quest 2, worked perfectly with the PSVR 2. The OLED display has a wider field of view than the Quest 2 at 110 degrees, and it looks like a porthole from the inside. The display is also vibrant. Blacks are truly black, and HDR effects create striking contrast between bright sunlight and shady corners. The 2000 by 2040 pixel per eye display is a higher resolution than the Quest 2, but the graphics capability of the PlayStation 5 is also very high. This headset includes foveated rendering through the use of eye tracking. Foveated rendering is a technique that renders only the objects in the center of where your eye is looking in the sharpest detail, mimicking how our eyes work in real life and improving graphics performance by reducing the processor's workload. Sense controllers. Sony's new Sense controllers were a significant upgrade. The original PSVR relied on Sony's Move controllers, which looked like funky wads with glowing balls on the end and had quite a few flaws. For example, the original PSVR setup had issues tracking the glowy balls, which could ruin immersive experiences in VR, and the first Move controller used a mini USB port for charging. Thankfully, Sony addressed that last issue by switching to micro USB. It wasn't a huge upgrade, but it was something. The Sense controllers, on the other hand, appear far superior. The haptics were excellent, which isn't surprising given Sony's excellent haptics in the DualSense. Touch detection was a fantastic way to interact with VR worlds. You can pick up weapons but flex your fingers and interact with objects more naturally. It wasn't perfect and wasn't available in every game we tried, but it added an extra layer of immersion when it did work. Sony has used the same rich haptics technology on the PS5 DualSense controllers, registering small taps, rippling rumbles, and all sorts of convincing vibrations far more advanced than the Quest 2 controller's generic buzzes. When you pull the trigger on different weapons in Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, you'll notice that some have early resistance while others feel easier to pull. Some have notable kickbacks in the trigger and haptics. In addition, grabbing ledges can become slippery or firm. The single cable setup of the PSVR 2 was greatly appreciated. The original PSVR required an additional box and a slew of cables to function, so this just having one cable that plugs directly into the PS5 is a much simpler solution. In most cases, VR games require you to take breaks every now and then to avoid developing a pounding migraine, but we didn't have this issue with the PSVR 2. We were able to go extended periods without feeling tired. Hardware. The hardware, which we already have a good understanding of, is a much more modern design that closely matches the PS5's design language, and you only need one USB-C cable to connect it to the PS5. In addition, the headset features an OLED display, a 110-degree field of view, 4K HDR, and frame rates of 90Hz and 120Hz for smoother gameplay. Unlike its predecessor, the headset does not require you to set up external cameras to track your movements. Instead, 4 cameras are built into the front of the display. In addition, the new orb-shaped PSVR 2 Sense controllers feature adaptive triggers and haptic feedback similar to the DualSense, as well as the ability to detect finger touches. But with all the new bells and whistles, how does it feel to play games on the PSVR 2? First of all, the PSVR 2 hardware itself was a joy to use. Like most modern VR headsets, it allows you to adjust the head strap. That way everything sits comfortably on your head. You can also adjust the IPD, interpupillary distance, so the actual lenses inside the headset are at the right distance for you. The screens look great, though they were occasionally hazier on the edge, as with the first PSVR. Games. In terms of games, we got to play Horizon Call of the Mountain, a version of Resident Evil Village optimized for PSVR 2, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, and the recently announced Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition. None of the games reinvented VR in any significant way, but in many games, the controls matched familiar interfaces that we've grown accustomed to in other games over the years. Because the PSVR 2 isn't expected until early 2023, other games will definitely emerge, but Sony has confirmed that the PSVR 2 will not be backwards compatible with older PSVR games. More than anything, these demos allowed us to compare Sony's new headset and controllers to what we had previously used. Horizon Call of the Mountain. This was the most technically advanced, most likely because it was built entirely for the PSVR 2. The game's sense of scale is incredible, and watching a massive mechanical dino walk overhead felt like visiting a post-apocalyptic Jurassic Park. Rock climbing was also a lot of fun as long as you didn't look down at the chasms. When you draw your bow and shoot an arrow, the new sense controllers vibrate, adding an extra level of physicality. The other games were also enjoyable. Resident Evil Village had a creepy vibe, and it's truly terrifying when the undead get up in your face. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 allowed you to get creative with how you whack walkers. Mowing them down with chainsaws is entertaining, but we recommend making zombie shish kebabs with a katana. Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, ILXM Lab. One of my favorite MetaQuest 2 games being ported to the PlayStation VR is the surprise game that ILMX Lab did something similar with Star Wars Vader Immortal a few years ago. It's a shooter with Cantina interludes all set on Batuu, the same world as Disney's Galaxy's Edge theme park. The game's graphics and controller haptics have been improved. All weapons now have an uncanny sense of vibrational realism, and all of the characters look far more vivid. For example, small blasters have different triggers and recoil than large pulsing shotguns. You are able to identify weapons based on how they feel just using the haptics. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, Skydance. Once again, one of the favorite Quest games appears on PSVR 2. Unfortunately, this new chapter has yet to be available anywhere, but the gameplay with lots of zombies, weapons to load up, and many areas of the body to pin flashlights, tools, and other items is the same as in previous versions. Once again, the subtle haptics and improved graphics make the biggest impression. Price. Sony did not reveal the price during the hands-on event, but with Meta's new high-end Quest headset on the horizon and Apple's long-rumored reality headset reportedly nearing release, Sony should price the PSVR headset competitively enough to encourage PlayStation gamers to purchase one. We can't wait to revisit Sony's new VR experience. The early 2023 release date suggests we won't have to wait long into the next year to finally play more, and we're hoping that purchasing the hardware won't break the bank. What do you think of the PSVR 2? Do you think it's going to be better than the MetaQuest 2? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Meta updates and VR trends.